40,000 cars selling for $18,000, dealerships closing permanently after 50 years in business, and manufacturers cutting production by 40%, while inventory sits rotting on lots. Yesterday, I'm standing in what used to be the largest Chevrolet dealership in Phoenix, watching auctioneers sell off everything from desk chairs to service equipment. This place was a landmark. 3 generations of the same family built it into a community institution that employed 120 people and sold over 2,000 cars a year. Now, it's just another casualty of the worst automotive market collapse in American history. I'm thinking, how did we go from car shortages to complete market collapse in just 18 months? The dealer principal, a guy who's been selling cars for 30 years, just stands there with his hands in his pockets, watching his life's work get sold to the highest bidder. His grandfather started this dealership in 1973. His father expanded it through the oil crisis, the recession of the early 90s, and the 2008 financial meltdown. But this is different. The auctioneer is selling a hydraulic lift for $800 that costs $15,000 new. Computer diagnostic equipment worth $25,000 goes for $1,200. Even the customer waiting area furniture, leather chairs that were supposed to project success and prosperity, sells for pennies on the dollar. He looks at me and says, "I survived 2008. I survived COVID, but I can't survive customers who simply refuse to buy cars at any price." That's when it hits me. This isn't about supply chain problems or temporary market adjustments. This is about the complete breakdown of the fundamental economics that have driven car sales for decades. When a successful dealer with a prime location and a loyal customer base can't give cars away, something has broken that can't be fixed with incentives or marketing campaigns. What's happening right now isn't just a market correction. It's the complete destruction of the automotive retail system as we know it. And it's about to get much worse. But to understand how we got here, you need to see the bigger picture, because this collapse didn't happen overnight. It's the result of multiple catastrophic failures happening simultaneously, creating a perfect storm that's destroying everything in its path. 2 weeks ago, I'm reviewing the latest industry data, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. We're looking at the largest automotive market collapse since the Great Depression. Not since the 1930s have we seen this level of systematic destruction across the entire industry. Over 25% of dealerships nationwide are facing closure within the next 6 months. That's not a projection or a worst-case scenario. That's what's happening right now. Dealers who survived every previous crisis are throwing in the towel because the mathematics of survival have become impossible. I thought, this can't be right. Cars are essential. People need transportation. But that's exactly the problem. Cars have become so expensive that they're no longer essential purchases for most American families. They've become luxury items that ordinary people simply can't afford, even when they desperately need reliable transportation. The average new car payment has crossed $700 per month. For many families, that's more than their mortgage, more than their grocery budget, more than they can possibly justify spending on transportation. When you add insurance, maintenance, and fuel costs, car ownership now consumes 30 to 40% of the average family's income. Consumer purchasing power has been completely destroyed by a combination of factors that hit all at once. Inflation has made everything more expensive, while wages have stagnated. Housing costs have exploded, eating up larger portions of family budgets. Credit card debt has reached record levels as families struggle to maintain their standard of living. Into this environment, automakers kept pushing prices higher and higher, convinced that Americans would pay anything for the latest technology and features. A basic pickup truck that cost $25,000 5 years ago now starts at $45,000. Family sedans that were once affordable have been discontinued in favor of SUVs that cost $50,000 or more. The result is a complete disconnect between what cars cost and what people can afford to pay. It's not that people don't want cars, it's that they literally cannot afford them at current prices, even with financing. But the pricing problem was just setting the stage for what came next. The real trigger for this collapse was something that caught everyone off guard, something that turned an affordability crisis into a complete market meltdown. 6 months ago, dealers were still marking up cars above MSRP, taking advantage of limited inventory to extract maximum profit from desperate customers. Today, Those same dealers are selling $60,000 trucks for $35,000 and still can't find buyers willing to take them home. The inventory that was once scarce and valuable has become a massive liability. Dealers are paying thousands of dollars monthly just to keep unsold cars on their lots, watching their cash flow disappear while customers walk away from deals that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. But what triggered this collapse wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a recession, it wasn't a pandemic, it wasn't even a supply chain crisis. It started with one decision by the Federal Reserve that destroyed everything the automotive industry thought it knew about consumer behavior. The interest rate weapon that was supposed to cool inflation instead obliterated the car market entirely. 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting in a Ford dealership in Dallas, watching a family walk away from their dream car, and what I witnessed perfectly captures how interest rates have destroyed the American car market. This family, husband, wife, 2 kids, had been saving for 3 years to buy a reliable SUV. They had $8,000 for a down payment, steady jobs, decent credit scores around 720. By every traditional measure, they were perfect car buyers. The sales manager, Mike, has been selling cars for 20 years. He's seen every kind of market, from boom times to recessions. But he's never seen customers react like this. "I can get you approved at 15.9%, Mike tells them, trying to sound optimistic about a rate that would have been considered predatory just 2 years ago. The husband just laughs, not a happy laugh, a desperate laugh that says everything about how broken this system has become. I'm thinking, when a $25,000 economy car requires a $500 monthly payment, the entire system breaks down. The mathematics are brutal and simple. That family was looking at a $32,000 Ford Explorer. With their $8,000 down payment, they needed to finance $24,000. At 15.9% for 72 months, their payment would be $467 monthly. Add insurance at $180 monthly, and they're looking at $647 just for basic transportation. "We can't do it," the wife says, and I can see the disappointment in her eyes. "That's more than our mortgage payment." Mike tries everything: extended warranties, gap insurance, different term lengths. Nothing works because the fundamental problem isn't the deal structure. It's that money has become too expensive for ordinary people to borrow. Auto loan rates that hovered around 3 to 5% during the pandemic have exploded to 12 to 18% for average credit buyers. For customers with less than perfect credit, rates can reach 22 to 25%. These aren't payday loan rates. These are rates being charged by major banks for secured auto loans. The wife starts crying when she realizes their 10-year-old minivan with 180,000 miles is worth more to them than any new car they can afford. That old van might need $1,000 in repairs annually, but it's paid off. No monthly payment, no full coverage insurance requirement, no gap insurance or extended warranties. "We'll just keep fixing what we have," the husband tells Mike, and you can see the defeat in his posture. This scene is playing out in dealerships across America every single day. Families who desperately need reliable transportation are walking away because the cost of borrowing money has made car ownership impossible. But high interest rates were just the first domino. What happened next destroyed any hope of recovery. Last week, I'm touring a massive vehicle storage lot outside Detroit, where thousands of unsold cars sit baking in the sun. And what I see there represents the biggest inventory disaster in automotive history. The lot manager, Sarah, has been in the auto business for 15 years, and she's never seen anything like this. We're walking between endless rows of cars, 2024 models that should have been sold months ago, 2023 models that are now considered old inventory, even some 2022 vehicles that have been sitting here for over a year. "These cost us $50,000 each," Sarah tells me, stopping at a row of electric SUVs. "We'd sell them for $30,000 tomorrow if anyone wanted them." I'm thinking, this isn't just overstock. This is Automotive Armageddon. The numbers are staggering. Nationwide, there are 4.2 million unsold vehicles sitting on dealer lots and storage facilities. The average days on lot has exceeded 180 days, with some vehicles approaching 300 days unsold. For context, anything over 60 days is considered a problem in the auto industry. Each unsold vehicle costs dealers between $15 to $20 daily in floor plan financing. That's the interest they pay to banks for the privilege of stocking inventory. On a lot with 200 vehicles, that's $3,000 to $4,000 daily just in carrying costs. Monthly, that's $90,000 to $120,000 in pure overhead before selling a single car. The electric vehicle disaster is particularly brutal. EVs that were supposed to represent the future of transportation are sitting unsold for 300+ days. 100,000 electric trucks with zero buyers. Luxury electric SUVs that dealers can't give away. The charging infrastructure never materialized, Sarah explains. Customers are terrified of being stranded with a dead battery and no way to charge it. But it's not just electric vehicles. Traditional gas-powered cars are backing up just as badly. BMW, Mercedes, and Audi inventory is accumulating at unprecedented rates. Lease returns that nobody wants to buy are flooding the market. Certified pre-owned programs have been suspended because dealers can't move the inventory they already have. The manufacturing response has been swift and brutal. Ford has cut production by 35%. General Motors has idled plants indefinitely. Stellantis has laid off 15,000 workers. But even with these massive production cuts, inventory continues to build because demand has essentially evaporated. Sarah shows me a section of the lot where vehicles have been sitting so long that they're developing problems from non-use. Batteries are dying, tires are developing flat spots, paint is fading from sun exposure. These aren't just unsold cars anymore, they're deteriorating assets that lose value every day they sit. We're paying to store cars that are becoming worthless, Sarah says, and the frustration in her voice is obvious. But the real shock came when I discovered what dealers are doing to survive. This morning, I'm at a Nissan dealership, where they're literally paying customers to take cars, and what I witnessed there shows just how desperate the situation has become. The dealer principal, Tom, explains their impossible situation with the exhausted look of someone who's been fighting a losing battle for months. His dealership used to sell 150 cars monthly. Last month, they sold 23. We're selling cars below cost just to pay our floor plan financing, Tom tells me, and I can see the stress written all over his face. Every sale loses money, but we can't afford to stop selling. I'm thinking, when dealers are losing money on every sale just to generate cash flow, the end is near. The survival strategies are getting increasingly desperate. Tom shows me a 2024 Altima with a sticker price of $28,000. After manufacturer incentives, dealer discounts, and cash rebates, they're selling it for $19,500. They're losing approximately $3,000 on every sale, but they need the cash flow to service their floor plan debt. We owe the bank $2.8 million for our inventory, Tom explains. If we don't make our monthly payment, they'll shut us down and auction everything off. The floor plan crisis is crushing dealers nationwide. These are the short-term loans that allow dealerships to stock vehicles. Banks are demanding payments while dealers can't sell inventory. It's a vicious cycle that's forcing profitable dealerships into bankruptcy. Tom keeps checking his phone, calculating how much longer he can survive. His monthly floor plan payment is $47,000. His overhead, rent, utilities, payroll, insurance, is another $85,000 monthly. He needs to sell at least 80 cars monthly just to break even, but he's averaging less than 30. Some dealers are resorting to increasingly creative tactics, selling new cars as used with 2 miles on the odometer to avoid manufacturer pricing restrictions, opening employee purchase programs to the general public, converting showroom space into service bays because repair work is the only profitable part of the business. My service department is keeping us alive, Tom admits. People can't afford new cars, so they're fixing their old ones. We're doing more 200,000-mile tune-ups than we've ever done. The Domino Effect is accelerating. Parts suppliers are cutting credit terms, demanding cash on delivery. Service technicians are being laid off as dealers cut costs. Entire dealership groups that survived previous recessions are filing bankruptcy. Tom looks exhausted when he tells me, "I've been in this business for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this. We're not just selling cars anymore. We're liquidating our life's work." The human cost is staggering, but the real devastation is spreading far beyond dealership showrooms. Yesterday, I'm interviewing families about their car buying plans. And what I discover reveals a fundamental shift in American consumer behavior that's driving this market collapse. Jennifer, a nurse from Phoenix, perfectly represents what's happening across the country. She's driving a 2015 Honda Civic with 200,000 miles that she bought used 5 years ago. The air conditioning barely works, the paint is faded, and it needs new brakes. By every traditional measure, she should be shopping for a replacement. Instead, she's planning to keep driving it indefinitely. "I can fix anything on my old car for under $1,000, she tells me. "Why would I trade that for a $700 monthly payment on something I don't trust?" That last part, something I don't trust, keeps coming up in every conversation I have with potential car buyers. It's not just about affordability anymore. American consumers have lost faith in modern vehicles entirely. The reliability concerns are real and justified. Jennifer's 2015 Civic has simple, proven technology. No touchscreen infotainment system to freeze up. No subscription-based features that can be turned off remotely. No complex electronic systems that require dealer-only diagnostic equipment to repair. "My neighbor bought a 2023 SUV, Jennifer explains. "It's been in the shop 4 times this year for software updates and electronic problems. Meanwhile, my old Honda just keeps running." The data supports her skepticism. According to Consumer Reports, vehicle reliability has actually decreased over the past decade as manufacturers have loaded cars with complex technology that fails regularly. Modern vehicles have an average of 3,000 semiconductor chips, creating countless failure points that didn't exist in older cars. Alternative transportation solutions are exploding in popularity. Car-sharing services report 300% growth in membership. Motorcycle and scooter sales are increasing as people seek affordable alternatives. Work-from-home arrangements are reducing transportation needs entirely. "I take the bus to work now," Jennifer tells me. "It costs $75 monthly instead of $700. I can live with that." This isn't temporary belt-tightening during tough economic times. This is a permanent shift in how Americans think about transportation. The idea that everyone needs to own a new car every few years is dying, and with it, the entire business model that has sustained the automotive industry for decades. This week, I'm visiting auto supplier factories that are shutting down permanently, and what I find there reveals how this automotive collapse is destroying entire communities across America. At a parts plant in Ohio that's been operating since 1987, 800 workers just learned their factory is closing forever. This facility produces door handles, window regulators, and interior trim pieces for Ford and General Motors. With vehicle production cut by 40%, there's simply no demand for their products. I'm talking to Maria, a single mother who's worked here for 12 years. She makes $22 per hour assembling components that go into vehicles most Americans can no longer afford to buy. "They told us we have 60 days, she says, and I can see the fear in her eyes. "I don't know what I'm going to do. There aren't any other jobs around here that pay this much." I'm thinking, this isn't just about cars anymore. This is about the collapse of American manufacturing. The automotive supply chain employs over 4.6 million Americans directly, with millions more jobs dependent on the industry indirectly. When vehicle sales collapse, the effects ripple through every level of the economy. Tier 1 suppliers like this Ohio plant are filing bankruptcy. Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers are laying off workers or closing entirely. The human cost is staggering. In Michigan alone, over 50,000 automotive jobs have been eliminated in the past 6 months. These aren't minimum wage service jobs. These are middle-class manufacturing positions that supported entire families and communities. "We survived the last crash in 2008, a plant supervisor with 25 years experience tells me. "But this one's different. Nobody's buying cars at any price. There's no recovery plan when demand just disappears. The financial contagion is spreading beyond the automotive sector. Auto loans are defaulting at rates not seen since 2008. Banks that specialized in automotive lending are facing massive losses. Credit unions that served automotive workers are struggling as their members lose jobs and default on loans. Regional economic devastation is accelerating in areas dependent on automotive manufacturing. Detroit is facing its second automotive apocalypse in 15 years. Southern states that attracted auto plants with tax incentives are watching those facilities go dark. Entire dealer networks that employed millions of Americans are disappearing. The pension funds that invested heavily in automotive debt are facing catastrophic losses. State employee retirement systems, teacher pension funds, and union pension plans are all exposed to the automotive sector's collapse. The ripple effects will be felt for decades. But perhaps most concerning is what's happening to the communities built around automotive manufacturing. Small towns where the auto plant was the largest employer are facing extinction. Local businesses that depended on automotive workers are closing. School districts are losing tax revenue as property values collapse. This town is dying, Maria tells me, as we stand outside the plant that's about to close. When this place shuts down, everything else will follow. The automotive industry's collapse isn't just destroying car companies and dealerships. It's unraveling the economic fabric of communities across America, leaving millions of workers and their families facing an uncertain future. Automotive analysts are predicting the unthinkable, and what they tell me about the future of the car market will shock you. The lead analyst, Dr. Sarah Chen, has been studying automotive markets for 20 years. She's advised governments, manufacturers, and investment firms through every major crisis the industry has faced. But when I ask her about the current situation, her response is unlike anything I've heard before. We're not just seeing a market correction, she tells me, looking me directly in the eye. We're witnessing the end of mass car ownership in America. I'm thinking, that can't be right. Americans have always owned cars. It's part of our culture. But the data she shows me is undeniable. Vehicle sales are projected to fall by 60% over the next 3 years. 40% of current dealerships will close permanently. Major manufacturer bankruptcies are not just possible, they're probable. The business model is broken, Dr. Chen explains. When the average car payment exceeds what most families can afford for housing, the market simply cannot function. The predictions are staggering. Vehicle prices will fall 50% from peak levels as manufacturers desperately try to find buyers. But even at those reduced prices, demand will remain weak because the fundamental affordability crisis hasn't been solved. The new reality will look nothing like the automotive landscape we've known for decades. Cars will become luxury items again, purchased primarily by wealthy consumers who can afford them without financing. The middle class will increasingly rely on used vehicles, public transportation, and alternative mobility solutions.